I know. So welcome. I'm really pleased that I was invited to help guide this discussion on the impact that students, student athletes, and collegiate athletic programs are having on the environmental and social sustainability of their campuses and their communities. We have a really amazing panel up here with 5 people who aren't just talking about what they need to do, but doing the real work to activate the next generation and make changes right now so that, as we like to say at this conference, so that we can win quickly. So with that, I'd like to get started. And you know, collegiate athletic programs and college campuses have some really unique challenges, very different than professional sports teams and professional venues. And so, Scott, I think you're going to kick us off by talking about what some of those differences are and the challenges in the college environment.
Yeah, thank you. I think the big one to think about is many of us have multiple facilities, right? And many of us on this level we've got an NFL football stadium, but we also have a minor league baseball stadium. We also have a NBA arena, but we have the same issues with a small staff. But we also are working with 600 student athletes across 23 sports. I think that's a big one, 300 staff members administratively. So I think it's very different and big conversation that we have to think about. You have to utilize your relationships across campus when you're in the athletic department, and then vice versa, the athletic departments need to be open to some of those relationships in order to get some of this, make this action happen.
Excellent. So thinking about that, Hunter, in your work at UGA, you've commented that UGA had some very wasteful practices in the past. So could you talk a bit about some of those challenges and then what you're doing to make changes to your facilities?
Sure. So there are a load of challenges, and tapping into the resources like fellow or peer universities, and shout out to Green Sports Alliance, Matt and Bradley, Shay, now Lauren. Lots of great resources that we can use to combat some of those challenges. UGA is unique in that we sit on top of this throne right now, in UGA football at least, so go Dogs. We have a few out there. But that being said, we're also sitting on this mountain of waste, and right now in the football stadium, we're diverting 2 to 7%, depending on the game, from the landfill, and that's just way off from some of our counterparts like Don and Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So that being said, at the Office of Sustainability, we recently, partnered with athletics and did our first ever zero waste athletic events in the spring, where we diverted 91.5% for a 3-game baseball series. So I'm really proud of that. Thank you. And we're using that momentum into the fall now for women's soccer entire season of zero waste. So using that is great.
That's awesome. That's great. Lindsay, you shared in the past that it's important to know your audience. And so could you talk a bit about how knowing that is helping you move the needle on sustainability at Clemson?
Yeah. So I believe that the first rule of sales is knowing your audience. And right now at Clemson, we're really trying to sell sustainability to our athletic department, and we're trying to make it make sense for them to invest into that. And really the biggest way to catalyze change on our campus, and specifically within athletics, is to use student athletes. So I had a student athlete intern the past 2 semesters, and last fall Clemson officially we have our first student athlete sustainability committee, which is now 30 students, and they've been taking on projects across athletics. For example, we had a zero waste softball season. That was a pilot that we started to figure out what our baseline numbers are for our waste diversion on campus. And in addition to that, they're working on a big tree planting project. And without those student athletes, we never would have been able to get any of this done. So I just think it's really important to empower our student athletes. And when you're looking at trying to make change within a university system and within university athletics, you have to take what's important to them and use that to your advantage.
You also did a survey, right, of some of your fans?
Yeah, so actually during softball, we worked with Jonathan Casper. A lot of you probably know him at NC State. And we found that actually 92% of the fans that we surveyed said that they strongly agree that their athletic or Clemson athletics should be promoting sustainability to fans and should be behaving in a more sustainable way. And that was across all political parties and all ideologies. So we were actually a little bit shocked by those results. And that's something now that we can take to athletics and say, hey, not only are your student athletes wanting this, but your fans are wanting this too.
I think that's really encouraging to hear how broad that buy-in is from your fan base. So Scott, at Texas A&M, I know you've made some progress on your sustainability journey. You're about to announce a master sustainability plan for athletics that'll roll up to the university's sustainability plan. But could you talk a bit about that plan and then how you and your student athletes are really advocating for changes in a challenging environment like Texas?
Yeah, so we had hoped to have it announced prior to today, but some other things had popped up, so we had to delay it a bit. But it started with us with really around dollars and cents, to get the university or the department buy-in, to show that, easy buy-in from the university around energy and utilities and waste and recycling, and then really to educate everybody around the economic, environmental, and social, and show that that is what sustainability is, the three different pillars versus just everyone thinks waste management, especially in athletics. But now, our jobs are to support student athletes. So we've got 2 student athlete-led groups, our Blueprint group with its Black Leaders Undertaking Excellence, and our We Cube group, which is our women's leaders group, that have come to us, pushing the envelope a little bit, forcing us as administrators to, not to support them, to put them on and amplify their voice. It helped us, and then also educating so we can show what we're already doing. Let's amplify their interests and the needs. They need their support and leadership due to the uniqueness of college athletics.
And I think you said that when student athletes are asking for change or advocating for their priorities, that the administration is keen to listen.
Oh yeah, very similar to what Lizzy said. I mean, when student athletes speak, it's going to happen. Right or wrong, we're going to push the envelope a little bit. You need their buy-in, and if you can get their buy-in, not only from the student athletes, but our relationship with the university. We've got 70,000 students on Texas A&M's campus. Utilizing the student part of it as well, I think now we have got the ability to really push forward.
Excellent, excellent.
I do have something to add to that.
Please.
Like at the end of the day, obviously we want our athletic programs to be really successful, but at the end of the day, we are institutions of higher education. So the students are the most important thing on our campus.
Yes,
For sure. And Karen, I know you're working at the University of Washington across 22 sports. So how do you connect with your students and student athletes to further your sustainability efforts?
Yeah, I'm just going to tag on to what Scott said too about, we're spread thin, right? I think about it as a professional sports organization may have 2 adult children. Well, we've got 22 little kids that we're responsible for. So, we have small staffs. We're even at the highest level, we're spread thin. So we have to use the resources that are available to us, and those are not necessarily monetary resources. Our resources are the students across campus and our student athletes. So I'll give a couple quick examples. At the University of Washington, we have a student athlete group called SAUCE, Student Athletes at University of Washington for Sustainability. And they come up with projects each year that they want to do, that they're passionate about. And then we work with them to do those projects. So this past year, we did a wetlands restoration project, invited some middle school students in too, to kind of close that loop of education. And it just depends on what they're interested in. Those projects change each year. We also have a College for the Environment on campus, and I work with that program. And we work with students in the athletic department that want to do projects. Athletics is an area that they always seem to want to do projects with, right? So I have 2 that are doing a project right now that are here somewhere. You may have met them, but they're looking at our game day sustainability operations and seeing how we can improve that.
I love it. I love hearing how the students are driving it forward, because I hope that once they are not just students and advocating at their campuses, but they're going to take that similar passion and advocacy out to the real world. as it were. But Dawn, I know you have a little different perspective because you're at a professional venue, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and so, but you invite tens of thousands of students in for your STEAM educational tours every year. So can you talk a little bit about that program and what it's like interacting with those students?
Yeah, so uniquely major, sports facility, home of the Falcons and Atlanta United. Also LEED Platinum certified and True Waste certified, platinum level. So we're what I like to call a non-traditional classroom, right? I think we're forever students as humans. We're always learning. We're always trying to take in every single day how to be a better human, how to maybe grow as an individual. And so I think how many people have learned some new stuff this conference, right? We're all learning. So as you continue on your journey, the importance is to soak all that up and learn as much as you can. So when we built Mercedes-Benz Stadium and opened our doors in 2017, I had just finished, I was part of the design and construction team, and I got to the privilege of spending about 4-ish years with Scot Jenkins, and I was the ultimate student of Mr. Scot Jenkins. So it was great to be able to spend that time. I became an individual environmental steward. I have a sorting facility in my basement, so I've taken that forward. And so when we opened our doors in 2017, the idea of creating a purposeful building was always at the forefront. So how do we create a space for our community, for our students, for our local colleges, where they can come and see what we're doing? Everything science, technology, engineering, art, and math is included in my program. So we bring students in, 8,000 to 10,000 students a semester. We actually have about 450 that will be there on Friday. FBLA is in Atlanta this week, so we've got a lot of students visiting. But the students come in, and we have a curriculum program, so they can do lessons that they're in the classroom, out of the classroom, and in the stadium. So when the teachers, when we work with them, I provide that curriculum package, and I would say about 80 to 85% of the lessons they select are the sustainability and environmental science lessons. That is the most popular subject, most popular topic that we're talking about because it is so important. It's what the students are interested in, and it's what we have to offer. So I see our facility as a non-traditional classroom, and it's a space, like you were mentioning, we can bring them in, we can show them what we're doing, and we're also giving them a pathway to a career in sports and entertainment that might not be on the pitch or on the field, right? Like, they're athletes, they're interested, they're sports management majors, but also they could be environmental stewards, and they can be sustainability managers, and they can work in those facilities in a different capacity, but also be part of the same larger goal of just being a leader in sports and entertainment.
Even before they become leaders in sports entertainment, do you see your students becoming advocates already for their classroom, their community?
Yes, I have had the most incredible story over the past year. I actually have a middle school, Marietta Middle School, shout out to them, who are trying to create a zero-waste cafeteria. And their scholars are visiting us in 3 different sessions where they're learning, they're presenting their findings, and then they're presenting their project successes or failures. We're all in the journey. And so they came up with the project. They brought it to us and asked, can you work with us on this? And of course we are, of course we will. But it's great to see them taking the initiative and really trying to make the impact in their own community and in their own space. That's the goal of the program, is to bring them in, show them what can be done, in hopes that they'll take those lessons learned back to their community, their churches, their schools, whatever that is, and apply those lessons.
Yes, that sounds amazing. I'm curious, I know one of the, at the top of the panel, Scott, you'd brought up some of the challenges in a collegiate environment versus a professional, but I'd love to talk about how corporate sponsorships also play into that. And how can a corporate sponsorship take down a barrier, maybe create a barrier, depending on where you are and who they are? So I don't know, Lizzy, if you want to start on that.
Yeah, state procurement is the death of my soul, and it's really hard to get anything done. You all know if you have to work with state procurement, but our workaround at Clemson specifically is if we have a sponsorship or a contract through athletics or through we do the Sunoco Fresh Summit, I know some of you will be attending that, we can work around procurement and some of the regulations with procurement to get some of the things that we want. And the way it works at really everywhere, if it's over a certain amount of money, every state has their own limit, you have to put out a bid. which really limits, and you have to choose the least expensive option. So it really limits what you can and can't buy. But corporate sponsorships, actually, we just don't have to follow any of those procedures, and we're able to get onto our campus things that we otherwise wouldn't be able to.
And you have another good example of that, right, with the waste bins?
I do, yes. We actually partnered with Novellus, and that was really specifically with our recycling department, not even with athletics, but because they were able to support us, they purchased the bins that we used for our zero waste softball pilot, which was $22,000 worth of bins. So that was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That collects a lot of waste.
It does.
So,
It does.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott or Hunter, I know you guys have some experience with corporate sponsorships as well.
I mean, on our end, really, it's just being in Texas, it's the sensitivity piece, right? Donors are a very big part of college athletics, and understanding where their money is, where their money lies when you're going to some of these really sustainable practices, and understanding how to be a little creative, I think, sometimes when you're talking about that. It's something that we've been really focusing on a lot on our end, with just making sure that we understand both sides of it.
Do you find that student athletes like advocating for their priorities, that corporate sponsors listen to that sort of position?
100%.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes back to understanding what their actual needs are, right? Understanding that they're more than just an athlete, getting their perspective, because we can leverage their wants a little bit more, similar to a sponsorship that way.
Okay, excellent. I think you also had a nice example of student athletes also being used to educate other students and educate communities. And do you think that also corporations like see that type of education and consider it?
I think so. We had we all started with we had a 12th man green team where we had some equestrian athletes, swimming and diving athletes that went out to the community and did some similar things to a tree planting program. And I think putting them on the front end of some of this stuff, again, we can leverage their wants and needs, and it eases it. Maybe doesn't solve all the issues when it comes to donors, but partnership-wise, it helps with the student athlete leading that way.
Perfect. No, that's really useful. I'd love to talk a bit about one of the challenges that you all brought up earlier too, which is in distributed decision making. And that to make your changes, you have to get buy-in from a lot of different maybe departments, groups. And so would you like to talk a bit about that, Hunter?
The challenge there.
Yeah.
So the Office of Sustainability operates completely, or athletics is completely auxiliary to university's Office of Sustainability. And so there is nobody within UGA Athletics currently that has a title, anything with sustainability in their title. So the Scot of UGA has been a great champion for us and is like making sure that we're at the table when some of these decisions are made. And so I'll just say, if you're out there as an athletic director of some kind, you need to be making those decisions ahead of time and partnering with the Lizzys of the world who aren't directly connected to the athletics department, but are making a lot of these great, things happen.
Okay, excellent. Lizzy, did you want to comment on
I
that
was just
too?
going to say that every university has like 47 athletic directors or something, and for some reason you have to get approval from all of them, which they're all really important and doing great things, obviously. Your roles are all great, but it's just challenging to get things done.
Excellent.
We have a competition, a SAD competition, to see who can get the biggest laugh up here, and I think I'm winning right now, so thanks everybody for that.
100%, yes. Until I dance off the stage.
Yes.
And then when I tumble off the side, we'll see. No, but despite those challenges, Karen, like, what gives you a sense of optimism when you're working with students?
Yeah, well, first they give me energy. They've got so much energy and so much passion for sustainability. It just keeps me going. But I'm a product of Title IX. And when I was playing sports growing up, I never imagined being on television. I was just happy to have my pair of shoes, right? And student athletes now expect that they're going to be on TV. They're going to have 14 different uniforms that they're going to wear, 28 if you're at Oregon, but, oh, see, I tried.
You're winning now. You're winning. Great. Thanks a lot, everybody.
But it's just an expectation right now with student athletes that you are going to have all those things because of what was done, 50 years ago now. And I see the next generation of students and student athletes that they're just going to expect that our political leaders are making decisions that affect our environment, and that that their water is going to be clean, their air is going to be clean. That is an expectation. It's not something that they expect to have to battle, right? So
Yes.
when they're adults, they're going to change the world, I think.
I cannot wait. So, I'm from Minnesota. Our air quality is poor right now, and explaining that to my 8-year-old is not something I was hoping to do anytime soon. So, I am definitely aligned with you.
She's not going to put up with that.
No.
She's not.
You kidding? You've never seen somebody sort waste so well. So I know it's coming for sure. But I know we just have a few minutes left on the panel, so I'd love to go through everyone and have you share like a key takeaway or one thing you would really like attendees to take action on with their local schools, their local colleges, and their communities. So, good start, Scott.
I think for me, the biggest one is just leveraging relationships. Kelly Wellman's here somewhere. She's our director of sustainability on campus and probably has wanted to kill me multiple times throughout this process. But she's still here. And we couldn't be where we're at without that relationship. So I think, athletics tends to kind of do a lot of things on our own. I think understanding that this is a bigger item and leveraging those relationships across all campuses, whatever you may do, is important.
Absolutely. Hunter?
I'm not going to have a corny leprechaun joke to get my laughs. I think we all have, a role to play in not just our own successes, but each other's successes. So when I look at Don and Andrew and what they're doing at Mercedes-Benz, I think I have just a lot of respect for what you guys are doing, but that partnership for us and learning best practices is so important. So I have a little bit of a couple of calls to action here. First, if you're a professional venue, reach out to your trade schools, your universities, colleges, locally, and just see where you can connect with the Office of Sustainability and Athletics to make sure that they're not making the same mistakes that you made when you were at the beginning of your journey. My second call to action is that there are a ton of students who are doing the most impactful work, and we've spoken about student athletes and just students in general, but all of the students who are here are doing that great work, and so I want them all to stand up right now, and if you haven't already connected with them, please make a point to do so. They are looking for jobs in this space. That's why they're here, and they're doing awesome work, so stand up.
We see you.
Yeah, go find them.
Perfect. Karen?
I think, that my takeaway is one person can do a lot. I'm probably unique in that I work within athletics, and I started working on sustainability projects 10 years ago with nothing. And I've found along the way that people have joined me. I've connected with other people across campus and some of our partners, and so just one person can snowball into a program. So don't be afraid to get started.
Absolutely.
Mine is directed at all of the corporate partners that are here. You have a lot of dollars that you can use to make an impact, and I think you should be intentional with those. And us at universities, that money goes so far and really can help us build our programs. So I'm having an Icarus moment here, but if anyone is looking to be an official sustainability partner of Clemson Athletics, if that sounds good to you, please come and talk to me. We'll get with our corporate sponsors team and we'll have a conversation.
And if you're local, University of Washington.
I love it.
Go
I'll
ahead.
round us out. Yeah, so I think the biggest thing and what we've all sort of learned while we've been here is education is crucial to anything that we do. We can't make moves, we can't move forward if we don't know what we're doing and if we're not learning from other people who have made the mistakes before or leading the pack. It doesn't matter which way. So I think for everyone, it's just be a sponge, soak up as much as you can while you're here, learn from other departments, other colleagues that are within our sports and entertainment industry. Schools, whatever that is. And then also, because it's so close to my heart, I'm very passionate about it. There was mention earlier in an earlier panel about the importance of biodiversity. I think that as we look at campuses, as we look at stadiums, how we coexist with our environment is super important. And there's climate solutions there. There's carbon sequestration and healthy soils. There's food access and food systems that all need work. So we've talked a lot about facilities and operations, but what happens outside of those buildings is equally important to our environment.
Excellent. Yes. Excellent way to round out the panel.
Plant a fruit tree if you can also.
No. Well, I'd like to thank you all for your energy and your leadership, because you're not just having an impact on your campuses, your venues, or in your communities, but you're actively empowering the next generation of people who are going to be leaders, advocates, and voters, and really amplify the values of environmental and social responsibility that you're demonstrating in your programs. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Lee.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, another round of applause. What an incredible panel. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.